Hey guys, this is Taylor with the Trader's Brain, and today we're going to be talking about NADRO, order flow, and even mindset. But before we jump into it, I just want to remind you about Mindset Mondays. It's a free coaching program. It's a group coaching program where you can come in, you can listen to others get coached, you can get coached on anything that you need to around mindset, edge, process, and it's the first Monday of every month. And so take a look at the link below, sign up, and would love to see you there. All right, so what we're going to do today is talk about today. Today was November 28th, 2022. It's a great day to talk about. And specifically, we're going to talk about how you can use order flow to actually help with mindset. So at least how I use order flow to help with some mindset work that I do around holding my positions longer. And so if that's something that you're struggling with, if you're getting out a little bit too early, then maybe this is a tool that can help, and you combine it with mindset and you're in good shape. Now, let me just kind of go back to, kind of the basics of what I do. And also, I'm also doing this video because a lot of people have asked, hey, can you show more examples about what you do? So if you haven't looked at the series on Edge, please do so. It's really important. I cover all this stuff. And so I'm not going to go into detail. But this is what my prep looks like. So my morning preps are, I look at kind of big picture, what's happening yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then a profile chart. And I'm looking for key areas. I'm looking really for two things. What are key areas? And is there any obvious bias that I should be aware of? Out of this information, I produce hypotheses. So, if this happens, then we're likely to do this. So in the case of today, I really kind of had more of a neutral and actually, honestly, a little bit of a bullish bias toward my hypotheses. Now, that's very fluid for me because I can look at a pre-market and say, okay, yeah, but I have a bias. I do have this bias, but I have a setup for going long, I have a setup for going short, but I need to see certain things happen. In the case of today, I had a little bit more neutrality, which kind of means it really could go either way. I had a slightly bullish bias, which was based on what I was seeing here on the monthly chart. I didn't like what I was seeing here in the quarterly chart, where we were really kind of overextended. And so I kind of had this neutral bias for today. Weekly, there's nothing really here on the weekly. You can see I have a level up here and I have a level down here. I thought, if the bulls might want to take it up to here, this 40.28 level. But if the bears could actually get below this 39.95 to 39.90 zone, we could actually go all the way hit down here 39.63. And if you know anything about today, that's exactly what happened. So when I was looking at, doing this video, one of the first things that kind of popped out at me is that there's not a lot of really good options of showing order flow today from the perspective of entries. And there are a few contextual entries, but really the best way to use, for me to use order flow today or kind of show order flow today is all about targets. Okay. So when we open today, and what I do is I transfer, or kind of link my chart drawings from the other charts over to here. And so I've got my levels here, I've got my levels here. And again, I'm bullish above, kind of slightly bullish above this 40.11 level with a hope that we're going to head up to 40.28. There's a lot of really resistance here. And then we had this spike up that, just didn't quite seem like it was for real, and you see a big spike like that, and you kind of don't know if that's for real or not. And so bulls kind of came down, came up here, came right to here, which would be kind of a normal of a long signal for me, tentative long. And they kind of went up to here, but then they failed. Okay. And the order flow just didn't really tell me much about this particular move. So if we look here, 835, and then again at 846, the 835 one was actually, pretty good. And I'll show you what I was looking at here at 835. So, we kind of came right up to here. We have this very strong level at 40.20. Okay. So there's two things I'm looking for when I'm looking at Auction Vista. And Auction Vista is like Bookmap. So if you use Bookmap, you can apply this as well. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking for these liquidity bands here, but I'm also looking for this aggressive action. So liquidity bands are kind of the passive market participants, kind of big guys with resting orders waiting for price to come up. And then these active guys, are those that are coming in, hitting into a price. Okay. So they're acting aggressively. These guys are acting passively, and both are really good information to have. And so what I saw here is we kind of had this new, smaller passive zone that formed as we were moving up toward it. Price shot up past it, failed, came down, and then we have all this activity here. Look at all this activity, this hitting in. So this was activity on both sides, but also you can kind of tell like a little bit more on the bearish side. So the bears are really aggressive coming in here. They were waiting for it. They were coming in here, and then price rejected here. There's still a possibility we could come back up here and test this level, but this peak, kind of little peak up right here, or kind of little push up, this corresponds to this right here. And notice to the tick, it comes right back up to this level that where the fight was. So they came right up to here, and then they rejected. And as they're coming down, this is a potential short entry right here. This didn't have a level itself. They didn't come back in and kind of reset here. Actually, they may have. Let me see if I adjust this down a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, not much, but really, you see this happen a lot where a former level, they're still there. They're still kind of protecting this zone. People who trade supply demand look at this kind of stuff. They could see this as possible supply right here. All right, so we come back up here, we test this, we fail, and we start to come down. Okay, so there was a potential order flow, kind of cue there. There's not very great context for me for this particular trade here. This one a little bit more so. This is kind of like we're rotational. We kind of went outside of the rotational zone, and then we're coming back into the rotational zone. I think I actually took a scalp here, coming from here down to VWAP. So I think I took a small little, it's just a small little scalp there. And so, as we kind of keep going here, we see we kind of break down here to VWAP. We come back here. Maybe this is another zone. What happens here? So if we look at this 919, really, not much. We have this kind of intermediate stuff going on here. It's a little bit scattered. We have a push up, and we kind of have this failure. Maybe you can get in there, maybe not. I didn't take that. It gets really interesting. So as we get kind of, down into here again, there's not much to see. So 939, I kind of was hoping that we'd come up and test this 4006 zone, maybe even a little bit higher. That gets us right up to VWAP. I was kind of hoping for a test there. That never happened. We just kind of flattened out and then dropped. Really nice drop. Now, this zone, okay, that I have here on my chart, okay, this is kind of a neutral zone, a little bit more of a destination. This is was a weak bullish zone for me, and it was based on kind of the monthly. But it was weak because look how many times we tested this. Like we kept testing and testing and testing, retesting, and then finally we break. So for me, this is kind of like one of those zones where, yeah, it's kind of bullish, but I'm not trading off of there, and I'm looking for maybe a flip there, right? So I'm looking and hoping that maybe this becomes what was once support now becomes resistance, and we get a bit of a flip there. But in terms of like taking this trade here, nothing really from an order flow perspective that helps me, and not really anything from a contextual perspective. I really would have wanted to see this come deeper down into this bearish move and then come back up and maybe test up through here. This was a little bit too shallow for me to want to take something like that right there. So we keep on going. Okay, we kind of take a look. Okay, and then we get this awesome, really cool sequence here where we get this big move down, fast big move back up, and then big move back down again. It's kind of like, bears come in hard, bulls come in hard, and who's going to win? Well, if the bulls were going to keep this, then they should have stopped it here, and they didn't. So, the fact that the bears kept pushing this lower all the way down into here again, that was, for me, that was kind of the, hey, it's time for me to take a look and get in. This probably a really good look right here. In terms of a trade, we've kind of broken down, accepted below here. I do recognize we have this zone right here, which could be problematic for me, but there's enough room. Now, what's happening here from an order flow perspective? So if we come take a look, contextually, this is kind of what I was looking for from an order flow perspective. Okay, so we look pretty good on the footprint. We have several signals here on the footprint, and then here. So it's about, I think 11:42 is when I took my trade, or between 11:42 and 11:44, somewhere around there. So it's kind of hard to see this, but let me kind of blow this up, because I think seeing a big picture of this can be really helpful. So as we kind of made this, kind of bigger move, the kind of this pullback right back up, we had this intermediate liquidity band pop up right here just before this larger one, right? And then we kind of come back up here again. Again, they come in right here just before it, come in right here just before it. So they're really defending this zone right here. Ideally, I would have wanted to see this pop right up here, but we had so many times during the day where we just didn't quite make it up that, I just was thinking that we're probably be okay even if we didn't make it up. And even if we did, and I was in a trade, I could probably take that heat a little bit and it wouldn't be necessarily a problem to see if they came back up here. So I think I ended up taking a trade at 11:44. I probably took a trade somewhere. I probably took the break of this right here. So 39.95, 39.95.25, somewhere around here. So I went short somewhere around here, took a little bit of heat and dropped. Now, this is where I really love what order flow and particularly Auction Vista and tools like Auction Vista and Bookmap can do for us. Now, if you're struggling with the mindset challenge of you can't hold, like you're struggling to hold, obviously there's some mindset work there. One of the things that you can look at is how can you use your tools better from an edge perspective to also support a better mindset, right? So if you have a fear of losing or price turning, right? Because that's one of the maybe fears that you have that's causing you to get out early. I'm afraid to give up some of my profits, right? You replace that with other phrases or sentences in your mind that can be supported by other tools. And order flow is a really good one. So when I was in here at 42, so there's always a risk of this thing coming back. In fact, I took a little bit of heat on the trade as soon as I got in, not much. But what am I seeing? Well, first of all, I know that we're going to hit this band right here. We're just so close. All these bands are magnets for price. So I know we're going to hit this. It's very likely we're going to come down and hit this. And I also have this all the way down here, this 39.80. So if I'm playing really conservative, then yeah, maybe you scalp a little bit off of here, but this was also kind of a weak band. And I thought, well, if we're going to test that, we're probably going to break through it, which is exactly what we did. So as we go here, okay, now we come into here, we kind of break through this band. Now, what am I looking at? Well, my next big area is this right here. Now, if you go back and look at my videos, remember, you see this a lot. You'll see where they pull their orders, but that doesn't mean they're gone. On a big band like this, I still recognize the band, okay? I don't just say, oh, that's gone. That's no longer relevant. Nope, they're still there. Notice they're still there. They're still there. They're just waiting for price to come down. Now, at this point, this might be a good place to scale, right? You can still create, a confidence in holding by using kind of your tool here and recognizing you've got a little bit of room to go to 39.80, but you can also maybe ease your mind a little bit, or maybe as part of your process, take a little bit off right here as we come down, as we have a little bit of a fight here and so forth, right? So maybe that's, you do have a little bit of scale there, right? Now, as we, continue to kind of work through, we're kind of bouncing around here, Again, what are you looking at? And what are you thinking? Well, my thought was, okay, we're going to come and test, when we're right here, I know we're going to test right down here to 39.80. There's a high probability that we're going to test down here to 39.80. So I'm just going to be patient and wait. And so what happens is we come down here, we get closer and closer. We come right down here, stall a little bit, but then boom, we break right down here at 39.80. Now notice that as we got right to here, we started to stall a little bit just around this little area. What was going on? Another band shows up, okay? Another magnet for price. So as price is breaking down here, sure, you could take out, a little bit, or you can recognize and kind of wait and see, does this band hold, or is this going to be the new destination? Okay. And sure enough, this happens. And then you get down to here, and what's going on? Well, you have another band that shows up. They're just adding liquidity steps lower and lower and lower. Okay. And then eventually we get down here. We've got this band down here at 64. We have a little bit of one down here at 60. And I think eventually at the end of the day, what happens? I think we kind of spike down all the way through all those, but just notice how well price moves toward these liquidity bands. And you can use that to your advantage from a mindset perspective to hold your positions longer, or at least to optimize how you exit your position. And mindset, I always like to teach my clients to lean on edge as much as possible to support mindset. If you could look at edge or process in a way of saying, hey, my edge tells me that it's a high probability that we're going to test down into this area, then that creates confidence, and that gives you the fuel to stay in the trade a little bit longer. Okay. So I just thought this was a really interesting day, really good example of using order flow not to enter, but maybe in looking for ideal spots to exit. And then as you're using these tools, how these tools can actually help with mindset and creating more and helping you to create confidence in holding a little bit longer. So that's all we have for today, traders. I hope this was helpful. Until next time, happy trading.